So in the Pelicans video that I uploaded a couple hours ago, I brought up the idea of that team trading for Terry Rozier because the Pelicans have only one guy who can really go off the dribble, make a shot, and make a play, and that's Jrue Holiday, of course. But then I started thinking, Terry Rozier is a pretty interesting trade asset because he's valuable for the Celtics because he can make shots and all that, but at the same time, they're probably not going to be able to keep him after this season because you assume teams are going to remember his playoff performance, and when the Celtics offense was really handed over to him, the dude was making contested threes and he was beating guys off the dribble, and Rozier just looked like a star for the postseason. On top of the fact that the Celtics are going to be at $124 million in salary next season if they let everybody who's going to be a free agent walk. So it makes sense that Rozier is probably not going to be on the team, right? They re-sign him to a larger contract, and depending on what other teams offer him, because he's going to be restricted, and they could be going into the luxury tax and then some, which I assume they don't want to do. So it can make sense to get something for him. And so now we're going to look at some teams around the league who I think should entertain the idea of trading for Rozier. I spoke on the Pelicans already. And actually, before I do that, let me say it'll be interesting to see what teams really consider Rozier, because one thing is, like, his three-point shooting has been good and his rebounding is excellent, and I think he plays pretty tough, and I think if you really play him like 33 minutes a game and you give him the offense, then we're going to see him do stuff that we've never really seen him do. But his field goal percentages have always been kind of bad. I think a lot of that is because he's pretty quick to pull up for a jump shot, and the threes are good, but is the rest of the stuff good? I mean, this year he's taking about 1/5 of his shots from long 2-point range, and they're not going in at all. He's shooting 16% on those. I also don't know if he has the size/speed to get to the rim consistently. He's not afraid of going to the basket, which I think matters, but don't expect the dude to just barrel his way to the rim all the time. But we've seen point guards be successful enough even without that. I mean, do we think that Terry Rozier can be like Kyle Lowry, who relies a lot on three-pointers? Yeah, potentially. Probably asking a little too much, but if he can be like a level below, then I think teams would be pretty excited for that guy. Basically, would anybody give up a first-round pick for the dude? I think it depends on the team. If the Pelicans traded for him, okay, then I think they'd give up a first. If the Phoenix Suns wanted him, they're definitely not giving you a first. So it's going to depend on the team. But anyway, if we go down the list of teams in the league, the first one I spot is the Indiana Pacers. And this one would be interesting because while I like Darren Collison and I like Corey Joseph, if they believed that Rozier had another level to him, that he could be better than those two, and you could pair him up with Oladipo and you could really have something, that would be there. But the Pelicans are also dealing with a lot of luxury this offseason because of their cap space. It's pretty much just Oladipo, Miles Turner, and Doug McDermott long-term, if I remember correctly. They probably want to hold on to Sabonis long-term as well, so they've got a lot of options, and I mean, there's definitely dudes in the open market that are better than Terry Rozier, so who knows if they'd want to commit to that one. The Orlando Magic have been desperate for a point guard who can do anything for the past couple of years. And I think they've actually enjoyed DJ Augustine's shooting quite a bit, as he's been actually pretty efficient this season for them. But you'd have to assume that Rozier has a higher ceiling than Augustine. But similar to other teams, like Phoenix, you're not getting a first-round pick from the Orlando Magic, and I don't know if there's anybody on this team for them, especially when you consider that they've got a decent amount of long-term contracts. I mean, if this move was going to happen, it would be like one of their young dudes, like Jerrion Grant. Well, he's not that young, but like Jarrell Martin or Kem Birch, who's also not young. You get what I'm saying. And the Celtics would probably think, you know what, we're not really winning in that deal. If the Knicks wanted to take on another point guard, that's a thing, but they've also got that cap space that they are enamored with, and Rozier, to me, Rozier's probably going to get something like between $10 and $14 million a year on the open market. which would mess up their hopes and dreams of getting like Kevin Durant or whatever. I had a thought of the San Antonio Spurs. That would be a thing that could happen, is the Spurs trade for Rozier, and then they turn him into like Drew Holiday or something. Like, we could all picture that one happening, right? What about Utah? I mean, I think it depends on your opinion of Ricky Rubio, because, you know, he's on a 1 year, and I think based on how it is right now, I don't know if they really want to bring him back, because I don't think his fit next to Mitchell is the best, and his three-point shooting is what it is. I mean, Rubio can do stuff, no doubt, but it just might not be the best for that team, especially if they need another scorer, and maybe they would rather guarantee themselves Rozier than try to gamble on the open market. I get to the Phoenix Suns once again. They do have Eli Okubo. He can do stuff. But of course, a first-round pick is not coming from Phoenix, and they definitely should not trade it. Could be a make the money match sort of a thing. I don't know, that is an awkward thing with Rozier as well, is he's only making $3 million, but if teams value him enough to really want him, and again, he was legit in the playoffs, then he's worth more than $3 million. So it's a weird thing of like, the guy you're trading to make the money work is probably not good enough to actually warrant the Celtics making the move, so then they would want a draft pick, but if you're a bad team, you're not going to give him a draft pick. It's a whole whirlwind of stuff. I guess I should open up the possibility of some team who's already pretty good just like wanting to secure their point guard rotation. As far as who that is, I don't know. I guess I could also mention the Mavericks, who are going to have quite a bit of money to play with this offseason, and Rick Carlisle loves himself like 2 point guard lineups, especially off the bench, and it's a possibility. I mean, I know you got Luka and Dennis Smith already, but I could just picture Rick Carlisle seeing Rozier and just being like, I want that guy. And between DeAndre, who's probably not going to be there after this season, and Wesley Matthews, who, if he is, will be on a cheaper deal, and I don't think it'll kill him long term, but at the same time, they also want to get in on the DeMarcus Cousins sweepstakes, so maybe they're trying to keep as much cap space open as possible. I could also picture them just waiting it out and then offering Rozier a contract if they really wanted him. But I don't know. I'm basically spitballing at this point. The point is, Rozier has got potential, and yeah, makes sense for the Celtics to move him depending on how much he's going to end up costing in free agency.